Invite our guests into the lodge and leave the door open so others may join us. Welcome to another episode of Follow Me. We are your hosts, Worship Brother Wiley Forrester, and I'm Worship Brother Will Moore. Today's episode is brought to you by Saving Statues for the Pigeons.
We must definitely consider that in today's society.
And we'll leave it at that.
Many shout outs and thanks to all the people that continue to watch our show. We're very much appreciative of it, and we're very grateful that you still take your time. There are a lot of folks that we find that don't have our link, and well, we haven't gotten our link out there well enough. We're going to continue to try to put that out and help others so they can go back and watch some of the previous episodes, and maybe we'll garner some new subscribers and people that will want to listen to us just ramble on.
Yeah, we're going to start focusing a little bit more on education. That's kind of the main focus of what we're doing here. I know for the 3 months while we were down, we were using it to entertain folks, give them something to do.
Well, and we were also in the moment with what was happening in the daily society of the world, and you know, we were reactionary in a lot of our cases, in a lot of our shows. Well, now we get the chance to be actionary instead of reactionary. We're going to be progressive, and we're going to move forward, and education is something we enjoy, and I think that there's not enough of it. We all know that you never get enough of it, and it's one of those things that is essential to improve yourself.
Today we're going to talk about something that's just recently happened, June 24th.
Yes.
St. John the Baptist Day.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we don't celebrate like I think we should in Masonry, one of our foundations, and something that I really didn't know about. I know I heard it during the degrees. It's something we talk about when we open and close the lodge, but we don't celebrate it enough.
Yeah, and St. John the Baptist, you know, there's both St. John the Baptist, which is St. John's Day in June, and then we have St. John's Day in December, which is the 27th.
Summer solstice,
winter solstice. So they coincide. Like the summer solstice is when the sun is supposed to be at its extreme height, or its extreme heat on the earth at that point in time. So we're going to talk a little bit about who John the Baptist was, and what he brought to the table back then, and what he means to me and you, Will, as Freemasons, from our viewpoint. You know, there's been many documents, many articles written. You know, we read from Petrie Stones, we read from some other articles that we've written or read over the course of studying for this. But our main thing is we're going to hit some really important notes that we feel are important, or what viewers should know about St. John. Not that part. We didn't need to know that part.
No. So one of the things I didn't know, and you know, like I said, I hear about this every year. We talk about it in lodges. We talk about doing stuff for it, but I think we've lost a lot of the focus on it because we don't understand it enough here. And I know I wasn't really taught what it meant as I was coming up through Masonry. So I'm still learning a lot on this. I've been reading a lot lately about it. So I found a paragraph that really kind of describes what I went through and what I know a lot of Masons have gone through. So one of the primary purposes of Freemasonry, and you're big on this, is the education of our members.
Yeah, but unfortunately what happens?
The pressures of time and business conspire to constrain the intellectual activity of our lodges. So
in other words, what you're saying to me, based on the first sentence you just read, was we don't have time to do it right.
So a man will make time to do what he wants to do.
Exactly.
But we don't get taught these things because in the beginning, we're taught a lot of things very hurriedly. And I think we need to slow that down. Part of this renewal that we're doing after coming back to lodges, getting reacquainted with our brethren, getting reacquainted with our lodges, is we need to slow down and think about these things. This is why this brought this to my mind as something we should talk about, because it's really a cornerstone of Masonry that we don't think about as much as we should. You know, real Masonic education and inquiry are among the first pursuits to be jettisoned from our regular lodges.
Absolutely, and we should also know that there has to be time of reflection while you're taking your 3 degrees on. And when you start talking about, this particular article that I also read, I mean, this is a driving paragraph, because there are some upcoming parts in this paragraph that are going to really, it might tick off some, but it's a fact.
What Brother Mackey refers to as parrot masons. Masons who become quite proficient at learning words, but who give little or no attention to the philosophy behind those words.
And what we also learn too is in our modern Masons, they're more into the philosophical side of what we do now. And so we have to go back to that. So what a better place to talk about than talk about John the Baptist.
Well, and this time of John the Baptist is supposed to be a renewal time for our lodges as well.
Absolutely.
Refreshment or renewal, getting back to the basics. And that's part of what St. John the Baptist Day is. And, I see this in our openings and closings. Too often do I go to lodges, and I've been to lodges all over the country, and I've been to some lodges around the world. Too often do people rush through the opening and closing just to get it done. And too often do they lose the meanings of the words they're saying in those openings and closings, because they're beautiful if you slow them down.
Well, and then it just backs up what Brother Mackey said about parrot masons. We're just parrots. We're just reciting words that we were taught. That's all we do in a proficiency, and that's what we do. We don't have any symbolic meaning behind what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, take for example the word hail. You know where that comes in. So do I, and so do a lot of our watchers. But have you really studied what that word meant and how it came about and why we use it? And so it's just one word, but it shows that we don't really think about all the things that we should as we go through the degrees and we go through our day-to-day living in the lodge and living Freemasonry.
So who was John the Baptist?
Wow. Well, they say he was, first off, they say he was born 6 months before Christ.
Right.
And he was he a cousin?
Not really sure if he was a cousin, relative of some kind. I know that he was a descendant of Abraham.
Right.
He was also, the way the story goes is he was actually the one who later baptized Jesus Christ. So according to that, if you're into the Christian religion and you're basing your things on Christian religion, he was also a crusader, a very fervent man.
He lived his life day to day by the book.
Right. He had one thing on his mind, and that was to spread God's law. That's what he did. Righteousness was it. He would not suffer one little bit for that to change.
Right.
Period. So what that taught me Masonically is I'm not in the end of your 3rd degree, you're taught something very critical to your learning or to your whole process about integrity, the integrity of our man. That we're taught about it. So we have to know about integrity. So there again, here we are again.
Well, did you know one of the things that's kind of cool about this is there's actually a meaning to non-Masons for this day.
Yeah.
So for non-Masons out there, back in the day, this used to be known as setting of the watch. At sunset, they would light a fire, and the people would actually jump across the fire to help bring themselves good luck.
That seems kind of, I don't want to jump in. That's sort of like jumping out of the frying pan into the fire.
Well, but that's kind of cool. I never realized this had a non-Masonic naming to it or a ceremony behind it.
Right.
So that was kind of neat to see that in the research that families would feast and celebrate this union, mostly across Europe.
Right.
Because if you look back, the Grand Lodge of England was born on St. John the Baptist Day, June 24, 1717, in London. so that's kind of a neat thing. And then they switched their days over to be more like December 27th because they wanted it to coincide closer with the calendar year, which is St. John the Evangelist Day.
Right.
And we won't go into that, but we'll do something in December about that before it happens.
Yes. We'll try to make sure we're more on point. St. John the Baptist, there's no proof that he or St. John the Evangelist were ever had any Masonic affiliation, any Masonic relations or things of that nature, but their principles and how they lived their lives were what draws us so much to who they are. With St. John the Baptist, he was an extreme teacher of righteousness. It was just the way he needed to be. He was the greatest apostle of love. He loved the Lord so much, his creator, that he would not way or stray from the teachings of his Lord no matter what.
No matter what, yep. And to me, I put that in the symbolism of Freemasonry as you're supposed to live Freemasonry 24/7 and not
Correct.
stray from that once you're made a Mason. So this just brings us back to remember that. And I remember a few episodes ago, we actually had the picture up on the screen of the two parallel lines, the circle and the dot. Well, if you go back and look at the picture, which you'll see on your screen now, St. John the Baptist and St. John the Evangelist are the two parallel lines.
Yes.
And so that's kind of neat how, even though we don't try sometimes, we tie these things together.
So with we talked about St. John the Baptist and his unwavering love for his Maker. So if you put those things into the Masonic teachings, what we were taught in our inner apprentice degree, we were taught about love and righteousness in that degree, love and understanding. It causes a prudent man and a very proficient Freemason to make a searching inquiry into the extent of his powers, right, and duties before it ever becomes too late. Thus, how you implement love and understanding into decisions that you have to make. So we as Freemasons appreciate the fact that John the Baptist was so true to his word that he would suffer decapitation before he would ever stray from what he was set out here to do, and that's spread the message of his Maker's laws.
Right.
Period.
And we're not trying to push Jesus Christ or the Holy Bible on anyone here. We're just giving you all some background into what a lot of Freemasonry in today's age was based on and based around. So, did you know back in the old days, the festival, there was actually a festival during St. John's Day. And they were of very central importance to the early American lodges. Both feast days were almost always celebrated by well-governed lodges. Always. And records indicate, you'll like this because you're into history and you're into our presidents. Records indicate that brothers George Washington and Benjamin Franklin always made it a point to attend their lodges during the respective observances of the St. John's days.
That's pretty cool. What we're trying to say is we believe that we've taken so much away from the learning experience because of time that things like John the Baptist, learning who he was, is something that we should learn when we are first initiated into a lodge. What the importance of June the 24th and December 27th mean to a Mason, what they should mean to a Mason, and why they mean that to a Mason.
Well, we always run the risk of allowing these traditions to become habits and losing sight of what they were originally designed for. And too often do we just, oh yeah, hey, St. John's Day, woohoo, instead of going out there and actually realizing that using it for that renewal, refreshment of ourselves in Freemasonry, making sure our lodges are right, making sure our brethren are staying within those bounds that they set up. So I don't think today we're going to leave you with any. Well, the reason I say that is because I want folks to focus on the message of today being St. John's Day. Go back and remember those things. Go back and do some study. We'll have some links in the show notes to the articles that we found. Read them.
And think about with him, with St. John the Baptist, what he says to a Mason and what a Mason should take from this is when you see those two lines, those parallel lines in that point within that circle, remember what that means. You're to live a certain life and to not exceed those bounds. And that's what St. John the Baptist teaches you, that no matter what happened in his life, he never lived a life that got outside of his bounds. Period.
Right. He
would not sacrifice his character, his integrity, his beliefs for anything that would cause him to be outside of his circle.
Well, and we're not supposed to stray outside that circle.
Ever.
So just remember that St. John the Baptist Day and St. John the Evangelist Day are designed to balance our fraternity.
Yes.
They happen every 6 months. They have a little different meanings, but they're placed on the left and right side to help bring balance to your life as a Freemason, and to everything that you do. So please study. Please bring it up at your lodge. I know I'd be more than happy to go to lodges and talk about this. I'm sure that you would too. And I think we need to do more of that as we bring back what I would call
renewal,
a revival.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a Baptist type way, but a revival of Freemasonry needs to happen not only in Georgia, but around the country and probably around the world.
Yeah, a revival of brotherly love and affection. We could probably all use a little bit of that.
And not just for each other as brethren, but as humans.
Yeah, good stewards for brotherly love and peace.
Everyone has a right to your kindness.
Yes, they most certainly do.
So, with that, we want to thank everyone again for being here. We appreciate you spending time with us again. We hope you got something out of today's episode. Please remember to hit the like, subscribe, and reminder bell. Invite your friends, other brothers, pass it around your lodge. We're finding out as we go visit lodges that some people don't even know about it. So please spread it around. We're not doing this for any kind of gain. We just want to spread the message, get some education out there, and have a good time doing it, and hope that just one person learns something they didn't know. Today, that was me.
Me too. I learned too.
So be excellent to each other.
And until we talk again, good night.